So who would you say is your influences? Who has influenced you the most?
Frantz Fanon,
Mm-hmm.
then George Jackson, Amos Wilson, Khaled, Shahzad Ali,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Bobby Wright, said Khaled, I said Marcus Garvey.
Mm. So out of those, like, I would say, what do you define yourself as?
As recently, like, I've been thinking about that. I don't see myself as a scholar anymore. I'm just Brother Xolani, Brandon
Okay.
Lamar Skates.
Okay. Do you
Niggas
deem
like
yourself?
using their African name and shit, but I put it out there like it's public knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Do you deem yourself? Do you find yourself as a Pan African or a Black nationalist? Like, what do you say is your?
I've had all those stages, but living, I am centered as an African person. My definition of what being African-centered is has changed due to my interaction. We have to start redefining what Pan-Africanism is, what Black nationalism is. I would call myself more of an anti-colonial African or anti-colonial, a guerrilla, just telling the narrative of Black people and just calling them to think. I don't really want to get into titles and labels because we don't have time for titles and labels.
Right.
It's a mere waste of time to go who's doing this or who's doing what. Hey, if you see your brother or sister slacking, hey man, just pick up the slack for them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or put them in a position to win and provide them with resources that's available at your disposal. So if I'm good at one thing and you not, and it's vice versa, I can help you help me.
Right.
We can barter for a service. You know what I'm saying? Instead of trying to charge an arm and a leg and breaking like people back because we don't have it. Like some of these dudes in the conscious community take your last $5. You know what I'm saying? Or your last meal. If you got a sandwich, they won't have your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to me, we got to get out of the mindset like people owe us something.
Right.
Cause I don't see the need for lecturing any longer. And I used to lecture. I used to do live streams. I don't see the point of doing it any
Why not?
longer. I just feel like it's a waste of time. How long we been talking? We haven't built anything as of yet. We haven't built any institutions that's sustainable, that's still around, that's not white finance or controlled or independent. So how are you saying you're going to get towards liberation or you're going to build African-centered educational institution, but you don't have no military, you don't have no trades, you don't have no political structure. So in the school, who gonna build the industries? And who's gonna train the next generations so we can have that grassroots politician?
What do you think our focus should be on right now? Like building some up. We always hear like, we gotta build, brother. We need unity. What do you think we need? What should be our main focus at this point, coming into 2021?
I would say, for me, my focus is political and military, which has always been as by African, by DNA, I am an African, but I always focus on political education first. I always have to vet these cats. Cause George Jackson said in Blood in My Eye, you always got to constantly vet who is the leadership. This is very clear that people don't understand. They are insane. We have woke, multiracial that are leader of the so-called Black conscious movement. They aren't black. So we have to get some kind of order and standard. And I'm not nobody's leader.
Right.
I'm not looking to lead nobody. I'm looking to provide for my family and collaborate with like-minded Africans. The Cuban Revolution, they only needed 10 people to have a successful revolution. I'd rather build with street cats. You know what I'm saying? Then I have 100 people that's online posting memes. When has memes ever liberated, or I would do this if I was in that position, bro. You absolutely have no form of political education whatsoever, and you want to argue online. You see, and I don't argue with them. I just post content. My page is constantly get reported. That's what it is.
You got your podcast that you doing. Talk about that. Tell me about your podcast.
It's called the War Report. It went from the War Report to War, but I had to think about rebranding because CNN, Capone and Noriega's album was the War Report.
Right. So
I wanted to be respectful for them. So then I went to the War Report News.
So it's called the War Report News.
News, the podcast, and then the main entity, I want to do media. So I came up with the War Report, the War Report News Network. So podcast and video stuff, like a multimedia kind of like a conglomerate.
Yeah.
To provide platforms, and I'm researching now how to create my own website, but using streaming, like creating my own streaming service, like provide opportunity for black content creators to get paid off of their money. So
what is the deal like about the War Report? What's the background about it?
It comes from my influences of Bobby Wright, Khaled. Oh, now I remember who I left off. Dale Jones, Amos Wilson, and understanding that we are at war, but providing. I'm not coming on there with just we black and all this African mumbo jumbo. And yes, I know Malcolm X isn't black. I done had niggas come to me in my DMs. I'm really transitioning from doing education and youth development work into doing political work, back into my political work, and being active in these different communities when I travel, going to different cities, touching the pavement and interviewing and surveying people.
So what is the what I'm asking is what is the point of the War Report? What is it that you're using it for? What do you do?
So take back the minds of African people.
Okay.
Using political education as a starting point to educate our people first. Because I could talk this black this and black that all day.
Well, what are you educating our people on?
COINTELPRO, what's going on behind the scenes and infiltration of organizations. My main campaign is for these pseudo-conscious lecturers that saturated the market and charge for lectures. I never charged. We all came out around the same time, but basically I've been railroaded, not out of academia. But getting my master's, and the Boulay tried to recruit me on several occasions, twice. Once in undergrad, once in grad school, I did a lecture called Intellectual Gangbanging. It's on YouTube under Brandon Lamar Skates. And I'm naming names, I'm providing information and giving people game. And I was told if I did this lecture, I would be railroaded from academia. I would never be able to go get a PhD. At the time, it bothered me because my goal was to be. I looked up to Dr. John Henry Clark. I looked up, and as a teacher, Dr. Amos Wilson. I wanted to go get a PhD and be teaching, because that's a battle we have to fight on all fronts. Like the university is saturated with Negroes. You know what I'm saying? That's causing that, and the university helped build hospitals, the research. They help build funeral homes. They help keep pushing the prison industrial complex. Right. And when I came into lecturing in a so-called conscious community, I wasn't charging, but it was people sabotaging me, gatekeepers. And every industry has a gatekeeper, but the information I was putting out was not supposed to get out. Right. So I was playing playing a game that my livelihood has been taken away from me in certain instances. And in the conscious community, it's hard for me to keep social media because people are plagiarizing my work but reporting my page to get me out the way. So this shows you that so my main campaign is to bang on pseudo-conscious, woke, weirdo Negroes, like these black power pastors, that's taking advantage of the people that aren't building anything. So I kind of am transitioning away from doing education, but using my platform, media platform, my podcast for edutainment and like a journalistic perspective. So like people bring people on to do live videos. I want to leave like a digital fingerprint and legacy. Leave my legacy. So I got the lectures. Those are done. Mm-hmm. I mastered that. Mm-hmm. Time to move on to something else.
Right. So where can they find your podcast and all of that?
You can find it on Anchor. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube.
Under?
The War Report News.
Got you.
And on YouTube, the War Report News Network.
Who's some people you have interviewed so far? Like?
I've interviewed you,
you.
As well.
Uh-huh.
We talked about reclaiming African sanity.
Uh-huh.
I've interviewed a brother by the name of Dex that has this Black Star Code. He does coding.
Okay.
And building websites and building apps and working on building a database that's a Black-owned research database. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed my brother Knowledge Born Allah, who gave me opportunity. He talks about his experience in the conscious community, from what it was to what it's become. And then I just interviewed Haki Kwali Shakur, who is representative of the August 3rd Collective, Republic of New Africa, New African Independence Movement. Mm-hmm. And his elders and OGs are Dr. Matubu Shakur, who's a political prisoner, mm-hmm. and Monster Cody, mm-hmm. Who are political prisoners. And that's another one of my campaigns, campaigning for bringing awareness to political prisoners. Because all these people talking about black this and black that, but they haven't mentioned the political prisoners mm-hmm. that's locked up behind putting in work. Mm-hmm. And saying that we will pass if we're not our grandparents. But it's a lot of people that died that was assassinated in the 60s. Malcolm not the only one that was assassinated.
Right.
He wasn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
the transition, African Center Biological Nationalism, what does that mean to you?